Hello, my name is David Ades. I'm a certified professional life coach, just like everyone else and their mom nowadays. But I specialize in the recovery from narcissistic abuse. And because I specialize, I'm special. Today's video is an offering of empathy and understanding and compassion to you, yes, so that you can offer it then to yourself. Yourself needs more compassion, more understanding, more empathy than you know how to get your hands on. So whenever you can, whenever you find it, whenever it's available on Amazon, you order as many of those things as you possibly can, because surviving narcissistic abuse is like bearing witness to a human being getting completely shattered, getting completely stomped like a cartoon character until they're flat. The narcissist freezes you, and then punches you, and you're on the floor, scattered. And all of these pieces of you that are frozen in trauma, frozen in shock and awe at what just happened, and how is the narcissist even a thing, and so on and so forth. Something I like to cover in every one of my videos. How is the narcissist even a thing? Well, they're not even a thing. That's the weird part about it. Anyway, it's a simplification of what I usually go into. You've got to have enough understanding and compassion and empathy to allow yourself to thaw in its disconnected, shattered pieces. And then these melted, liquefied pieces of you need time to coalesce. And slowly you come back together, and then it's me again. And the amount of compassion and empathy and understanding that it takes to bear witness to this thing and let it happen and challenge it healthily, like, come on, yeah, you got this, and affirm it, like, good job, you did it, you keep going. You have to become a life coach to yourself. You have to become a Buddhist to yourself. You have to become a shaman to yourself. It's almost impossible. You see this shattered person, you say, hey, is this gonna work? You gonna get yourself back together? Can we do this? And the answer is yes, you can. But not without compassion, understanding, empathy, so on and so forth. So the way that this video means to capture empathy and understanding and so on and so forth is I'm attempting to paint your journey of recovering from narcissistic abuse in the same way that I would paint someone who hasn't suffered narcissistic abuse, their journey of self-actualization and self-realization. In other words, a survivor of narcissistic abuse is just seeking to self-realize. That's what the metaphor I made is. First, the self needs to realize that it exists. It didn't die, meaning the frozen pieces melt. Yeah, you were frozen. Yeah, you were disconnected from yourself. Yeah, you were severed from yourself in a way that you didn't know was possible, and you didn't know that this could happen. And yeah, there's all this shock and confusion and anxiety. Yeah, that's true. But this self is still trying to realize. It's like it's at a negative of self-realization. In other words, the narcissist comes and unself-realizes you. It's almost like they push you back in time. It's almost like they regress you evolutionarily or something like this. It's still self-actualization and self-recovery, just with a couple caveats. The profundity of depth from which a survivor of narcissistic abuse begins their self-realization and self-actualization journey anew might be different from where someone who hasn't suffered narcissistic abuse, where they start their journey. Maybe not. Could be similar. Someone who's suffered a different type of abuse. Someone who's dealing with a different type of conflict. Someone who is, profundity of inhibition. So not only does a narcissist kind of unself-realize you, but it's like they put all of these gates and locks between the different parts of yourself, between you and coming back up from the negative space that they sent you down into. Yet, just like for any human being, for the sufferer from narcissistic abuse, the survivor, self-actualization and self-realization takes place in the same way. just like any other human being. And that's by meeting needs, which is what I'm going to get to in this video, and give you a nice little coaching exercise in the way of taking account of how you are currently getting your needs met, or maybe failing to, and therefore how you might improve that and thereby lift yourself up. We might just think of narcissistic abuse as their job is to detach you from your needs as much as they can, because it is a human being's needs that feed their life. And a narcissist is like trying to kill you psychologically, if not otherwise. But at that point, you might be dealing with a psychopath. Could be a psychopathic narcissist. Anyway. Isn't it the things that a human being needs? Isn't that what makes them alive? So isn't it also that by getting more of your needs met in a better way will render you like more alive? And that's what anybody who is self-realizing or self-actualizing, trying to slow down, I mess up again, self-actualizing, that's what they're doing. Trying to be like more alive, trying to become a better version of themselves. Well, how are you going to do that? You're going to need more nutrition for this supposed or hypothetical greater version of yourself. Need more compassion, need more empathy, need more understanding, need more needs met. Everybody knows, not everybody, but most people know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We understand that what this pyramid kind of suggests, anyway, is that you can't really focus on self-actualization until you ate, until you have shelter. That's fine, although that also paints finding shelter and eating as a form of self-actualization, right? You self-actualize yourself up until you're at that the only thing that's left, Illuminati confirmed, is self-actualization. Getting needs met is self-actualization. This is the part that goes under the nose when looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It goes right over the head. It's almost too simple to consider that the entire journey of self-actualization, this highfalutin enlightenment liberation thing, is just a matter of needs getting met. But it is. It's just a lower level of organization needs, like more primitive, biological, creaturely needs. You meet those, and then you get to a higher order of needs, and you get to a higher order of needs, but it's just meeting of needs. I do want to mention a different model of human need. It's called ERG, lesser known, but it's not a pyramid. It's just like a web where existential needs, which is like the lower level of the pyramid, and relational needs, which is like middle, and then growth needs, which is like the top of the pyramid, they all feed into one another. It's not just like climbing a pyramid to the top, but it is also still all meeting needs. I think the average person who sees Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they say, I understand it, but deep down somehow it's like, but it can't be all just about meeting needs, because that would mean that a lot of my needs aren't being met, which is why I'm not fully actualized. And I don't feel that my needs are so unmet. But that's what trauma does to us. It shoves away our unmet needs. That's what trauma is. It's profoundly unmet needs. So that on the surface, you don't feel the need that is unmet. You feel some weird, compulsive, compensatory, some perverted, distorted version of the need. As compulsive eating is maybe the most accessible version of this, accessible to understanding. Somebody who eats their emotions. Obviously, they have some deep-seated need that's been repressed out of consciousness. All that's left is this, like, I want to feel full, I want to feel warm and stuff. And that comes to the surface and gets kind of distorted, perverted on its way to the surface as a hunger drive. It kind of joins the hunger drive. I don't mean to make these videos like psychoeducational, but maybe you're here for it, and maybe that's the way that the cookie crumbles. So, You need to think of your recovery from narcissistic abuse in the same way that you would think of your self-actualization journey, which means it's all about meeting needs, which means in order to move yourself higher up the pyramid, consider life like a mountain that you're trying to climb. Yourself is like a mountain that you want to see the top. I want to be the best version of myself. In order to reach higher, you need your leg, like if you're a mountain climber, in order to reach your hand higher so you can move yourself more up the mountain, self-actualization, you need the lower parts of you to have a better footing, to come up first. This is a metaphor for the needs that are getting the least met, or that you have the least conscious relationship with, maybe most destructive relationship with. You need to address those first. Okay, so this video has become now entirely, it's just self-actualization, whether it's narcissistic abuse, whether it's not. Here's kind of the coachy exercise of the day. Look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, look at Alderfer's ERG needs, and you can look these things up, or maybe I'll post a list here or something, and rate on a scale of 1 to 10. Go one by one through some of these needs, and if you can think of more, do that. Go one by one and rate on a scale of 1 to 10. How well are you meeting the need? How well do you think you're meeting the need? Which is a good, I don't mean to dismiss, oh, it's only what you think. That's how you start. How consciously do you know yourself to be meeting the need? How well do you think you're meeting the need? Pardon me. But also factor into that 1 to 10 rating your relationship with the things that meet that need. Meaning, how much do you invest in them, and how much do they invest in you? Example, you have a need for shelter, kind of security, feeling safe. Okay, well, I have this roof above my head, so maybe I would rate it a 10 out of 10 or something, but maybe there's a leak, so I'll rate it 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, something like this. But factor in something like, well, how do I relate to this roof over my head? Do I keep it clean, not necessarily the roof, but the space, the shelter itself, the security? Do I keep it clean? Do I acknowledge it as I move through it? Do I, color it in a way that I like I make it pretty and I organize and stuff like this? In other words, as it is meeting a need, am I investing in it such that I have a conscious relationship with what is meeting my need? And a healthy one. For example, on a kind of worse note, heroin might meet a need for, something. Otherwise, people wouldn't do it if it didn't meet a need. You can consider maybe everything you do as meeting a need, attempting to meet a need, mistakenly trying to meet a need, or kind of distortedly meeting a need that you're not conscious of. I don't know if there's anything else that a human being is capable of, or a creature, an animal is capable of, interacting with needs. And either they're suffering, so the creature is kind of lower, like in regards to themselves, like lower mood and lower this and lower that, or lots of needs are being met and it's higher, and it might not be that simple, but anyway. So you might be meeting a need in a way that really meets the need, but then what's your relationship with the thing that meets it? Again, heroin. Okay, well, heroin meets the need 10 out of 10, baby, but the problem is that it destroys me. And how do I feel about it? Well, I'm ashamed of it. So that kind of 10 out of 10 rating might be bumped down to a 1 or a 2. Right? What impact does the thing that you relate with in order to meet the need, what impact does that have? Factor that into the 1 out of 10. And as you go through these lists and rate 1 out of 10, and factor in all these variables, note that the lower ones represent your footing on the mountain of your recovery from narcissistic abuse, the mountain of your self-actualization journey. The lower ratings represent where your feet are. And you won't be able to move yourself as a whole higher up the mountain until you release whatever's keeping your foot on the lower space, whatever you release that grip. Maybe it's you gripping down there, or maybe something is gripping you, or it's, both. until you move up the lower, you won't be able to move the higher. So now you might have some, a little theoretical blueprint for, these are the needs I'm not meeting so well, what can I do about that? Think of your needs as what hook you to wherever you are on the mountain. And in order to move the entire being that you are higher on the mountain, you're going to need to unhook the lower ones, hook into the higher ones. That's it. If you want my help personally, click the first link in the description to schedule a free discovery call. If you have any comments, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, especially if I was unclear about anything, let me know. Or if you wanted to hear more about such and such, let me know. You can also take a free narcissistic abuse recovery quiz by clicking the second link in the description. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. Like this video if you do like it. And don't lie to me, and I will talk to you soon.